Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new release, and this is from a company that you hear me talk about quite often here on the channel, because this is actually from a retailer that I recommend you guys purchase from almost all the time. This is the third release from Lana Time Shop. And what's really exciting about this one is this is the first time we've strayed away from the dinosaurs, and now we've gone into the prehistoric mammal area. And this is a really neat species choice to have, again, released by them. This is the Uintitherium, and it is an absolutely gorgeous looking model. Like, man, oh man, I really hope that Lana Time Shop continues to release prehistoric mammals moving forward, because this thing is just drop-dead gorgeous. There aren't really all that many models out for this species either. You would expect there to be a lot, but there really isn't nearly as many as you might think, especially considering it's been, fairly decently shown off over the years. Even from when I was a kid, this is like one of the, I would say, most memorable prehistoric mammals that I would see quite often in pretty much anything and everything. But you can see the model looks really good. It's just basically a nice walking Uintitherium here, kind of just like walking through a nice little earthy area. Nothing overly flashy or too incredible as far as the pose goes. This, of course, is a model kit, so you would have to build it and paint it once it arrives. I did that, of course, myself, so the paint job you see here and the build and everything was done by me. I also added these plants onto the base. These plants are actually not originally on there, so I just wanted to add a little bit of extra life to the scene. And the one thing about this model kit that's really convenient for most, if you aren't all that familiar with building and, painting model kits and stuff, the one good thing about this is there are not all that many pieces to it. I really only had to connect the tail and the head, and that was about it. I don't think anything else needed to be connected, if I remember correctly. So that means there's very minimal work when it comes to building and filling seams and stuff like that. So that's definitely a plus, especially, again, if you're newer to model kits and stuff. I would really recommend this one. And another reason why I think this is a great choice is because the pieces fit really nicely together, so there isn't really all that much when it comes to filling seams that you would even have to do in the first place. The seams are super easy to fill on these because the pieces are so snug. And on top of that, the quality of the Lana Time Shop prints is far and away some of the best I've ever seen. So again, there's just so much to love about their models. Like, their detail pops so impressively, and the resin that they use is super high quality. So definitely a huge plus as far as their releases go. But if we pull this here off of the base and we bring it in, get a nice closer look at it here, you can see again the head sculpt looks absolutely fantastic. You've got a lot of very impressive fine detail, a lot of very impressive skin texture here throughout the course of the face of the model. You can see the large teeth kind of sticking here out of the mouth, which look really nice. They're nicely sculpted as well. And again, the skin texture is absolutely out of this world on the model. You can see that just kind of moving through the course of the face and everything here. You could just see so many super fine skin wrinkles and stuff, and just kind of like cracks and crevices to the skin. It is mind-blowing how good the fine detail on this looks. And of course, I've tried to add a bit of variation of color here to the face and everything to make it look pretty realistic and pretty lifelike. I think I've succeeded for the most part in making it look pretty good. You can see again over here on the other side, same deal for the head. You have the head looking absolutely incredible. Of course, with the very trademark appearance to a Uintitherium, you can see, again, they've also elaborated that aspect very nicely. That's one of the most memorable areas, I think, of this creature, and one of the reasons why this animal has stuck in my head for so many years, ever since I was a kid. It's always been one of the more magical prehistoric mammals out there, I think, and more fascinating overall. But as you move a little further back into the head, you can see the ears sculpted out also quite nicely. As you lead up here to the top of the head, again on top of the fantastic skin texture that you have through the entire course of the model, you've also got a small amount of fur leading along the top of the head, leading down into the neck, which also looks really nice. I definitely like that. If my camera focuses correctly on it, there you go. You can see how highly detailed even that little area, that little patch of fur is. So again, continue continuing to show how impressive the Lana Time Shop models really is. You can see quite a bit of wrinkling and creasing to the skin here, kind of like some skin rolls and folds and stuff on the underside of the neck as you move down. The animal does have its head turned toward its left, which you can see. Again, so that should be, you know, wrinkling up some skin and stuff in that area. As you move back up here to the top, you can see the spinal column following along the back of the animal. You can also see, again, the skin texture is absolutely fantastic, and the quality of the model is honestly out of this world. It is so impressive in hand. As you move down here through the course of the front leg, you can see everything from the shoulder blade to the musculature to the skin kind of being a little bit saggy, and the bone structure. Like, everything is very nicely portrayed in the sculpt of this model. As you move down, you can see the elbow right there, and as you lead down into the foot sculpt, you've got some nicely sculpted nails and everything down there. You can even see the wrist as well, some creasing and everything in the wrist of the animal. As you move down, you've got a little bit of skin detail here, kind of playing off of the stomach, considering the movement of this front leg. As you move back into the stomach of the animal, you can see again the skin texture is super realistic. It's pretty much like what you would expect to see on like a modern day rhinoceros or something like that, and that again is exactly what I would expect on this species. But you can see, moving along again, there is so much fine detail. It is honestly mind-blowing, and you can even kind of make out the rib cage right there. So again, like, I love that when you look at it from the side, you don't notice it all that much, but I mean, you can kind of see it. But as you move it here, once you hit that certain angle, you can now see the ribs kind of protruding through the stomach, showing you that it is a fairly healthy, well-fed version of this animal. As you move back, you can see the skin kind of stretching off of the stomach a little bit as this rear leg is, you know, taking a step and kind of stretching backward. You can see the hip bone and everything as you move up here into the top of the rear leg, and as you move down, you can see a massive thigh for sure leading along. The musculature is present in that area. You've got some bumpy skin texture right there. Leading down, there is the knee right in the front of the leg. Leading down further, you've got the ankle, and then of course the toes and everything. And as you move back here into the back of the animal, we do have the tail leading down. At the end of the tail, you've got a little bit of fur just kind of topping off the end of the tail. I did give that a little bit of a reddish brown sort of a color just to kind of switch it up from the browns and grays of the body. And as you move over here to the other side, first of all, one of the biggest differences is the fact that the head is now turning away from us, so that again gives you a little bit less of an impressive visual on this side, considering now you don't see the face all that well, but you can see all of the kind of saggy skin and everything here in the neck and throat of the figure, and of course all of the impressive texturing throughout. Leading back further, we can see the shoulder blade, and then moving down, obviously, again, the Uintitherium is walking along, so this leg is picking up. The skin kind of all bunched up here in the stomach as the leg pushes into it. We've got the elbow back there, and of course a nice bend in the wrist, again, as the animal is walking along, and the skin texture continues to look absolutely out of this world. It is so unreasonably realistic. And as you move back into the stomach, again, we've got all of the same very impressive fine detail that we had seen on the previous side. You've also got all the cracks and crevices here throughout. You can make out the rib cage again. I've added quite a bit of variation of color, trying to make it look like it's a nice grayish sort of a tone with some hints of browns, and also making it look like it's fairly dusty and dirty, kind of also what I would expect to see on this animal, again similar to like a rhino or something. But as you move back, you've got the hip bone again protruding through the skin, the very nice musculature of the thigh and everything. We've got the knee in the front of the leg, and again, that other foot sculpt right there, which looks really good. You can see the nails and the toes and everything quite nicely. And then moving along the underside of the figure, again, the skin texture and everything looks incredible. Even down here, we also have the genitalia for the animals, so of course you have the most anatomically correct version possible. Even the undersides of the feet look really good when it comes to the texturing. I tried to give those focus camera a bit of a dirty and dusty look. My camera doesn't want to focus on it for some reason, but again, when it comes to this species, there aren't all that many models out for it, but this would probably be the best one that I recall seeing anywhere. And then we've also got the base. Now the base, again, isn't anything crazy impressive, but you really wouldn't expect it to be anything crazy impressive. It's just basically some nice earthy areas and everything. And again, I added these little plants to it just to add a little bit more life to the base. But the actual fine detail of the base looks great. You've got some really nice texturing for the earthy areas. You've got like rocks and stones and stuff throughout. And again, you've got a peg hole here for the Uintitherium to kind of put its foot into so that it can stand very nicely on the base. Again, nothing overly, mind-blowing with the base, but it's definitely a really nice base to add the model to. So again, as I already stated, you basically just have to take the peg and slide it into that hole, and then it goes onto the base and stands very nicely. As far as a size goes, for a length, you are looking at about 6¼ inches, or around just shy of 16 centimeters. And then for a height, when it's on the base, a little over 4 inches, or about 10½ centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our Uintitherium from Lana Time Shop. And you can see, again, this is a very impressively sized model, but it is important to remember that there are actually 2 different size ranges for this release. So actually, I was mistaken. There are 3 different size ranges for this. I just checked just to be sure before spitting some, inaccurate facts. But there is actually 1/35th scale, there is 1/10th scale, and 1/20th scale. I kind of said that backwards. But again, 3 different scales. So I guess it's really up to you, as far as which version you would want to get, and again, which size range you would want to go for. And since I don't really have a whole lot of models for this species, I think the only one I can really remember offhand might be the Collect A version, and I currently have that one in storage. But you can see, again, I'll just bring in some random models to compare with it. First of all, we have the Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon next to our Uintitherium. There is also the Schleich Diabloceratops, which is clearly a bit smaller. The Safari LTD Uintyrannus, which is definitely a bit smaller as well. The TNG Woolly Mammoth, which we can see is definitely closer in size to our Lana Time Shop release. The TNG Megaceres as well, which is definitely a whole lot smaller. Just in case you snagged one of the Earth Story figures, we also have their Dinotherium here, again stepping in for a size comparison. The Eofauna Steppe Mammoth, because I know that is a very popular release from them. The Collect A Short-Faced Bear as well, again just in case you happen to have snagged that model. This could help you as far as a comparison goes. And we've also got the Collect A Paraceratherium. This is the older version of this species. Again, one that I feel like is fairly popular in many prehistoric mammal collections. And then finally, the Bullyland Woolly Rhino, just for one final comparison. Hopefully one of those figures you will have had in your collection to, again, give you an idea of the size next to this Uintitherium. So Lana Time Shop does it again, 3 times now. They've given me some of the most incredible models that I now have in my collection, and especially when it comes to like prehistoric mammals, I just love them so much. And now having prehistoric mammals coming from Lana Time Shop is super exciting, and I'm definitely going to keep my fingers crossed that they continue to release more of these prehistoric mammals moving forward, because I would love to continue to build my Lana Time Shop prehistoric mammal collection moving into the future. But this is an absolutely gorgeous release, and definitely one of the best versions of this species that you are going to find anywhere. Maybe the best overall. Sculpt-wise, it is absolutely phenomenal. There is so much impressive fine detail. It really could not get more highly detailed than you see here. Like, I couldn't possibly imagine any other way to make this thing look more realistic and lifelike when it comes to the sculpt and fine detail than what we already have currently. The pose is also nice and natural, nothing overly flashy. Again, just a nice, calm, relaxing walking pose that we have for it, and I think that looks great as well. Of course, this is a model kit, so I had to build it and paint it, but as I already mentioned earlier, there is very minimal build time. Again, you only really have 2 pieces you need to connect, and they glue on so quickly. Like, I'm surprised at how quickly they actually stick when you use the Gorilla Glue that I use, Super Glue. It attaches so quickly. Some material that glue doesn't really like and takes a few minutes, but it's literally seconds before this stuff is attached when it comes to the resin that Lana Time Shop is using. And again, as I already mentioned, the seams are so small and they fit so nicely, so you don't have a whole lot of seam work to do. And the detail on the actual model is beyond impressive when it comes to the quality, giving you a super impressive visual when it comes to every aspect of this model. The coloration and everything would be up to you. I gave mine this nice color scheme, which I felt like looked natural. I didn't want to go, too crazy with mine as far as giving it some sort of a weird kind of risky color scheme, maybe giving it some sort of patterning or something that it may or may not have had. I just went with what I feel like is fairly natural and kind of what I would expect to see on this animal. Also the type of color scheme that I've seen portrayed on it so many times over the years, which is another reason why I like this sort of color scheme. Again, giving it that almost rhino type colors. But overall, it is absolutely fantastic. And then of course you also have a base, and the base is very nicely done. Again, nothing super mind-blowing there, but you don't really need that. Again, you have exactly the type of terrain that I would expect to find this animal in, so it works perfectly. So without a doubt, a must-have if you ask me, especially if you are a fan of this species overall. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can head on over to Lana Time Shop and order this unbelievable model kit right now. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe before you do, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.